Indonesia is facing challenge in COVID-19 vaccine distribution due to an embargo by manufacturers in India. Bank BCA decided to distribute dividends of 48% of the total net profit in 2020. Good afternoon, viewers. Market Headlines is ready to provide you a number of information from business, economic, and capital market sector. With me, Claranta Wijaya, and this is Market Headlines. Government is maintaining the availability of COVID-19 vaccine as an effort to inject vaccinations in April 2021. This is because the plan for AstraZeneca vaccine delivery for the March and April 2021 period to Indonesia has been postponed due to an embargo by manufacturers in India. Government is facing challenge in vaccine distribution due to the embargo by manufacturers in India. This is alarming because India is known as the largest manufacturer of the COVID-19 vaccine in the world. According to the initial plan, Indonesia received 2.5 million doses of AstraZeneca vaccine by March 22nd, and the additional of 7.5 million more doses of vaccine in April 2021. Minister Budi estimates that Indonesia could have a potential of a total 15 million vaccines. However, the schedule was actually postponed because there was an embargo that prevented the vaccines from leaving India. As a result, the availability of COVID-19 vaccine in Indonesia will decrease in number in April 2021. From all sources, IDX Channel. President Director of Biopharma, Honesty Bashir, asked the Ministry of Foreign Affairs to conduct diplomacy with countries, especially India, following the issue of COVID-19 vaccine embargo. And this diplomacy is an effort to maintain Indonesia's vaccine supply so as not to be disrupted by the embargo. The vaccine embargo from India was caused by a high number of COVID-19 cases in the country, so they choose to use their vaccine for their domestic first needs. And then the President Director of Biopharma, Honesty Bashir, said that the Biopharma doesn't want vaccine distributions is hampered by vaccine embargo. Currently, Indonesia has conducted 500,000 vaccinations a day, or we can say it is better than other days, which were 100,000 vaccines a day.
Sudah berkoordinasi dengan Kementerian Luar Negeri untuk juga bisa melakukan diplomasi bagaimana seandainya suplai ke Indonesia yang sudah terjadwal ini bisa dilakukan sesuai dengan jadwal. Karena memang kita tidak mau terganggu, karena kecepatan vaksinasi sekarang yang dilakukan pemerintah itu juga sudah melihatkan kenaikan. Yang tadinya dari 100-200 ribu per hari, sekarang sudah menuju ke angka 500 ribu vaksinasi per hari.
Moving on to the next coverage, state-owned enterprise in agriculture sector, Raja Wali Nusantara Indonesia is ready to distribute 75,000 tons of white crystal sugar. The distributions will be done gradually in second and the third quarter of 2021. To stabilize food prices, especially for staple food like sugar for Ramadan and Hari Raya ahead, Raja Wali Nusantara Indonesia is about to start white crystal sugar import by the end of March. As many as 6,000 tons of import target, which is 75,000 tons, has entered Indonesia through Tanjung Priok Port in Jakarta. President Director Arif Prasetyo directly reviewed the import activity in Tanjung Priok Port. He stated that this is Raja Wali Nusantara Indonesia's role to keep up with the food stability, as the company is a coordinator for food cluster state-owned enterprise.
Kali ini kita ditugaskan langsung gula kristal putih untuk menstabilkan harga nanti ke depan. Jadi kali ini Menteri Perdagangan, kemudian Pak Menteri BUMN, Pak Wamen BUMN memang menugaskan kita untuk mempersiapkan lebih awal sehingga tidak seperti sebelum-sebelumnya harga sudah terlanjur tinggi kemudian baru kita melakukan action. Tapi ini sudah direncanakan lebih awal dan ini sangat baik buat kita semua.
In the next arrival at Belawan Port Medan, there will be around 15,000 tons of imported sugar, while another 30,000 tons sugar will be at Tanjung Perak Port Surabaya, and another round of 24,000 tons sugar will come again in Tanjung Priok. Arif ensured that the white crystal sugar has arrived will soon to be distributed to meet the national demand before Ramadan begins. Jakarta, Rahajo Patmo for IDX Channel. Government through Coordinator Ministry of Economy is about to change cow farming paradigm from conventional to commercial. In conventional cow farming, the farmers have tendency to keep the cow for the self-consumptions, while in the commercial farming, most cows are sold to the people. See the differences? Commercial farming might fulfill national beef demand, and therefore Agribusiness Farming and Fisheries Development Deputy Assistant Pujo Setio stated that government will change farming paradigm to commercial one. These transitions will later use corporate partnership patterns, and this will make government can notice how many cows the country can produce, so it can be converted into 1 year national demand.
Pertama, memang harus mengajak masyarakat itu menuju arah komersialisasi. Jadi yang selama ini konvensional, tradisional, kita arahkan agar komersialisasi. Tetap tanpa meninggalkan budaya-budayanya. Nah, inilah yang kita sebut dengan pola-pola kemitraan dan korporasi di peternak. Sehingga tadi ada stok yang siap potong yang kita sudah ketahui setiap tahunnya dari data-data populasi ternak tersebut, sehingga kita bisa konversi terkait dengan suplai daging untuk 1 tahun. Nah, oleh sebab itu barangkali ini menjadi salah satu solusi jangka panjang dengan adanya peralihan paradigma pemeliharaan ternak di masyarakat dari tradisional konvensional menjadi.
More headlines will be right back after this quick break. Stay tuned. Pemirsa, Menteri Kelautan dan Perikanan Wahyu Sakti Tenggono secara tegas melarang aktivitas ekspor benih lobster.
Karena benur itu adalah kekayaan daripada bangsa ini, kekayaan dari alam ini. Dia hanya boleh dibudidaya.
Presiden Joko Widodo resmi mencabut aturan terkait investasi industri minuman keras.
Bahlil Lahadalia menyebutkan
adalah kita memberikan perizinan berusaha dan insentif bagi UMKM.
Indeks harga saham gabungan bergerak fluktuatif.
Nilai tukar rupiah terhadap dolar Amerika Serikat sedikit mengalami apresiasi.
Bagaimana dengan target pertumbuhan ekonomi Indonesia di kuartal 1 tahun ini?
Sehingga pada kuartal 1 tahun 2021 diperkirakan ekonomi akan mengalami kontraksi, akan mengalami penurunan.
Faktor-faktor utama dalam penolakan dari Uni Eropa terkait produk sawit Indonesia.
Indonesia disebut belum mampu menerapkan standar lingkungan yang cukup dan juga standar keberlanjutan yang cukup.
As an effort to prevent the transmissions of COVID-19, the government, through the Coordinating Minister for Human Development and Culture, Muhajir Effendi, confirmed that 2021 Eid homecoming is prohibited.
The Coordinating Minister for Human Development and Culture, Muhajir Effendi, announced that the Eid homecoming on May 6 to 17, 2021 will be abolished. The government calls this ban an effort to prevent the transmission of COVID-19.
Hasil konsultasi dengan Presiden, maka ditetapkan bahwa tahun 2021 mudik ditiadakan. Berlaku untuk seluruh ASN, TNI, Polri, BUMN, karyawan swasta, maupun pekerja mandiri dan juga seluruh masyarakat. Sehingga upaya vaksinasi yang sedang dilakukan bisa menghasilkan kondisi kesehatan yang semaksimal mungkin sesuai dengan yang diharapkan.
The regulations that support the elimination of the 2021 Eid homecoming will then be regulated by the relevant ministries or institutions, including the COVID-19 task force, and in it are regulated regarding the monitoring measures by the Indonesian National Police, the Ministry of Transportation, the regional government, and others. IDX Channel team reported.
After the Minister of Transportation previously stated that there was no ban on Eid homecoming this year, but at the end of last week, the government, through the coordinating Ministry for Human Development and Culture, finally announced to ban Eid homecoming in 2021. So what are the points of this year's Eid coming home banning? And let's take a look at the first graphic. Yes, through the next graphic, we can see that the government is considering a number of impacts, both from the economic and health sector, on whether or not homecoming is allowed amidst the pandemic. So in principle, the government preventing a spike in transmissions of COVID-19 cases during the long holiday, and the rules will take effect by May 6 to 17, 2021. And then we can see that the rules applied for all groups of society, nonetheless the ages, and also this is the second ban after 2020 homecoming ban. And while the coordinating Minister for Human Development and Culture, Muhajir Effendi, emphasized that the government has prohibited this year's Eid homecoming, which applies to all parties. So the ban is based on the results of last week's ministerial meeting. And furthermore, the decision was taken considering the high number of infections and deaths due to COVID-19 after several long holidays, especially after the Christmas and New Year holidays. So even so, the government still provides mutual leave on Eid for 1 day, but no homecoming activities are allowed. In addition, the government said that the provisions of social assistance will be completed on time, and provisions on the special assistance for Jabodetabek last year will be determined later. So as we know that this is not the first time the government banned Eid homecoming in the midst of pandemic. However, what is public's perceptions on this ban? Let's see the survey results in the next graphic. We can see the survey that is provided by private employees, the Transportation Ministry, ITB, and also our research team. So as many as 89% people will not conduct homecoming, while 11% of the whole people still will do homecoming. This is still considered as a big number, since the number of respondents is more than 61,000 people. So the survey, which was conducted by the Ministry of Transportation together with Bandung Institute of Technology and Media Institutions, is intended to formulate implementing regulations for 2021 Eid homecoming ban. The ministry said that the estimated number of travelers when there is a national ban on homecoming is 27.6 million people. Meanwhile, most homecoming destinations are projected to Central Java at 37%, West Java by 23%, and East Java by 14%. And due to the high interest of people to go home for Eid, the Ministry of Manpower said that it would make efforts to reduce this, one of which was through regulations that would include sanctions for private workers or employees or independent workers who continued to go home. With the prohibitions of Eid homecoming, of course, this affects a number of sectors, one of which is the transportation sector. So how do public transportation providers respond to this ban? So let's see it in the next graphic. We can see the responses from public transportation providers. We got 2 from PT Kereta Api Indonesia and Garuda Indonesia, the national flight carrier. Let's take a look for Johnny Martinez as a VP Public Relations of PT KAI. He said that KAI fully supports all government policies in terms of handling COVID-19 and national economic recovery, and the company will continue to coordinate with all related parties. And meanwhile, in the other hand, we can see Irfan Setiaputra as the President Director of Garuda Indonesia that is stated Indonesia, which is Garuda Indonesia, will support it and waiting for the detailed rules. And as the transportation's observers say that the community relies on the homecoming, the Indonesian Railways Company Management, or KAI, admits that they have not yet served the sales of the tickets for a 2021 homecoming, although sales with a reported date after 30 April 2021 are still ongoing. KAI ensures that it will continue intensively coordinate with all parties regarding the policy of prohibiting the homecoming. And other responses were conveyed by transportation entrepreneurs. The chairman of the Indonesian Young Auto Bus Entrepreneurs Associations, Kurnia Lesani Adnan, questioned the policy to prohibit a homecoming because if reflect on the last year, the homecoming wave is still rife and difficult to handle. The ban from the homecoming also opens up loopholes for illegal homecoming transportation so that the official companies providing public transportations are increasingly at a disadvantage. And not only hitting the transportation sector, the 8 homecoming ban is also believed to have impact on the economy. So let's take a look to the next graphic. So as we can see, the impact of 8 coming home ban on the economy. First of all, the circulations of money in 8 period grows slowly. And the second one is that restrictions on mobility reduce people's desires on consumptions. And then the disperse of the optimism business world that hopes for aid station will gone. And yes, Ajib Hamdani, representing the Indonesian Young Entrepreneurs Associations, or HIPMI, said that the government's policy to ban 8 homecoming would be very detrimental. Moreover, there is no clear certainty from the government regarding this policy. From the entrepreneur's side, and of course, he wants the government to loosen up the policies regarding 2021 8 homecoming. This is because aid is the right momentum, especially because of the circulations of money in the regions is getting more swift. And in addition, economist Bima Yudhistira said that the homecoming ban affected the expectations of the business world, especially certain sectors, which previously hoped there will be an increase in sales when going home was allowed. So he gave an example, such as innovation industry, which may have supplied raw materials and designed Lebaran clothes, but had to lose money because of the ban. In addition, it is possible that there are business actors who are ready to recruit employees who were laid off due to the pandemic because they hope that sales during homecoming will increase. So they need additional worker, and however, it must be cancelled due to the ban. He also believes that the limited economic movement due to the ban will have an impact on the performance of national economic growth. And yes, viewers, hopefully there is a best way in this year's homecoming ban, which prioritizes public health, but at the same time still provides room for economic mobility during the 8 momentum. Yes, stay tuned to market headlines. We will be right back after this quick break.
PT Garuda Indonesia Persero Tbk telah melakukan pemutusan kontrak penyewaan 12 pesawat bombardir CGR-1000.
Kita memutuskan untuk mengembalikan 12 pesawat bombardir CRJ-1000.
Pemerintah berencana memberikan insentif pajak penjualan atas barang mewah atau PPNBM untuk kendaraan bermotor.
Tujuan dari insentif ini adalah dalam rangka mendorong pemulihan ekonomi lebih cepat.
tren transisi ke energi baru dan terbarukan tidak membuat industri energi fosil lantas surut? Seperti apa dampaknya terhadap sektor migas?
Turunnya atau rendahnya harga minyak dan gas yang sangat drastis turunnya, adanya pandemi yang membuat terbatasnya pergerakan.
Langkah yang dilakukan apa nih Pak?
Hingga hari ini saya kira Brent hari ini sekitar 55. Ini sesuatu yang positif untuk industri yang itu kira.
Pemirsa, Menteri Kelautan dan Perikanan Wahyu Sakti Tenggono secara tegas melarang aktivitas ekspor benih lobster.
Karena benur itu adalah kekayaan daripada bangsa ini, kekayaan dari alam ini. Dia hanya boleh dibudidaya.
Presiden Joko Widodo resmi mencabut aturan terkait investasi industri minuman keras.
Bahlil Lahadalia menyebutkan
adalah kita memberikan perizinan berusaha dan insentif bagi UMKM.
Let's take a look at Jakarta Composite Index intraday movement. So earlier today, JCI was open at level 6,155.35, and then approaching the closing time of the first session, the index is on the level of 6,097.14, and the index was showing weakening trend by the second session closing time. The index was closed at level 6,071.44. In short, JCI went down 1.55%. Next, we're going to see the sectoral movement. Leading the dynamics of today's trading, we got constructions as the leader of the weakening trend that went down 2.55%. We got agriculture that went down 2.38%, manufacture that went down 1.2%, and basic industry that went down 0.7%. Moving on to the top gainers and top losers, here are the key highlights from today's trading sessions. We got BACA that went up 14.98%. We got BVIC that went up 8.13%. We got MPPA that went up 9.4%, and ZBRA that went up 14.74%. That means time for the top losers for today's trading sessions. We got BBRI that went down 4.66%. We got Aneka Tampang that went down 2.21%. We got Astro International that went down 2.26%. And Waskita that went down 6.75%. Next, we're going to see the intraday movement of rupiah towards US dollar. So rupiah opened at the level of 14,472, and rupiah was also showing strengthening trend towards US dollar. I was closed at the level of 14,351. In summary, rupiah went up 0.37%. The annual general meeting of shareholders of Bank Negara Indonesia approved the distributions of 25% of 2020 company's net profit, amounting to 120.1 billion rupiah as dividends.
The annual general meeting of shareholders of Bank Negara Indonesia or BNI approved the distribution of dividends of 25% of the 2020 net profit, amounting to 820.1 billion rupiah. Taking into account the composition of 60% government-owned shares, BNI will deposit dividends of 492.58 billion into the state general cash account. Meanwhile, dividends for the public for ownership of 40% of shares worth 327.52 billion will be given to shareholders according to their respective ownership. Meanwhile, as much as 75% of last year's net profit, or 2.46 trillion, will be used as retained earnings. The President Director of BNI, Royke Tumilar, said that the company's management had taken a number of steps, strategies and policies aimed at maintaining performance amidst these difficult conditions. In addition, at this general meeting of shareholders, decided to appoint Erwin Rianto Slamet, who previously served as Deputy Governor of Bank Indonesia, to become an independent commissioner replacing Joni Swastanto, whose term of office had ended. From Jakarta, IDX Channel team reported.
While the general meeting of shareholders of Bank Central Asia decided to distribute dividends of 48% of the total net profit in 2020. The cash dividend to be distributed is 530 rupiah per share.
The general meeting of shareholders of Bank Central Asia decided to distribute dividends of 48% of total net profit in 2020. The cash dividend to be distributed is 530 rupiah per share. BCA management say that the cash dividend includes an interim dividend of 98 rupiah per share, which was distributed on December 22, 2020. For information, last year, BCA posted a net profit of 27.1 trillion, down 5.14% from the previous year. As for 2019, BCA distributed dividends of 13.69 trillion, or 555 rupiah per share. BCA's dividend payout ratio is 47.9% of the 2019 net profit of 28.6 trillion. Apart from dividends, the shareholders meeting also overhauled the company's board of directors and commissioners. BCA again appointed Suwitnyo Budiman as Vice President Director of the company. This issuer coded as BBCA shares also appointed two company directors, namely John Kosasi and Frankie Chandra Kusuma. Both of them replaced Henry Koinaifi and Erwan Yuris Ang, respectively. IDX Channel Team reported.
PTPP is optimistic about 2021. The proof is that the company targets new contracts for this year to increase by 35%. Constructions company PTPP is targeting new contracts to go up by 35% in 2021. With this target, state-owned companies is optimistic that the operating revenues will increase by 40% and the net profit to increase by 50%. The corporate secretary, Yuyus Juwarsa, said that the company's new contract achievement last year amounted to 22 trillion rupiah. This means that this year, the company is targeting new contracts worth 30 trillion rupiah. And to achieve the target, the company is about to increase marketing plan. Company focuses on projects with clear funding, expanding the market segmentation by entering potential markets, then it will increase the burning ratio. From all sources, IDX Channel. Step aside from market conditions, as coronavirus pandemic takes a big role on current economic situation, here it is an update data about coronavirus globally. And the news close our market headlines today. Please enjoy our next program on IDX Channel, Your Trustworthy Economic, Business and Capital Market Channel. I'm Claranta Wijaya. Have a nice evening and stay safe.